I'll make John
Make
mad.
it too easy sometimes.
We're good, sir.
We're good? Okay. Let's call the meeting to order. City Council will come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Schmidt,
Here.
Whitaker,
Here.
Wright, Baumgartner, Ely, here, Godwin,
Here.
Rogers.
Here. Let's all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may be seated. Well, we have received communication that one of our council members who's absent is going to be a little tardy, and the other one we have summoned to the, we might have to have the police go pick him up. I don't know. But we do need 6 to conduct business tonight. Approval announced you all received copies of the last meeting's minutes in the mail, or email, any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Approval of the current financial report. You've all received copies of the financial report from the auditor's office. Any additions, corrections, questions, or a motion to approve? So moved. Motion by Mr. Whitaker to approve the minutes of the financial report from the, or approve the financial report from the auditor's office. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Ely, yes, Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. Bill agenda. I have, excuse me, one addition to the agenda. Under ordinances and resolutions, we do have an ordinance to ratify the wage agreements with the wastewater local unions and declaring an emergency. That will be stated more specifically in the title of the ordinance. And other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion, Mr. Schmidt, to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Ely, yes, Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. We have no scheduled public hearings this evening, but anyone would like to address council, please come to the podium and the microphone and give your name and address and state whatever your case may be. Don't see anyone rushing to the microphone. Seeing none, we will move the agenda to administrative reports. Mayor Wallen.
Thank you, Council President. Bear with me just a second here. I do one item to bring up. And would like you to step down here. If you would, please, and
Oh, me?
yes.
I have to step down?
I think it's like some reason to get a picture. So this, we certainly appreciate Mr. Burkett's service to the community and for council. And I don't know if he's been the longest, 32 years on council and being president of council. It's an awesome, almost like a feat. So
Mr. Hallberg has me beat that.
as a, I wasn't sure. But, that's a long time for anybody, and we certainly do appreciate it. I think one of these days they'll probably have a reenactment of our council meeting. So I'll read this real quick. Presented to John Burkett, appreciation. The city of Greenville. Special thanks and appreciation are extended to John Burkett for his 32 years of service and dedication to the Greenville City Council. John was very responsible and conscious in performing the tasks and duties as a member of council from January 1st of 1990 until December 31st of 2005, then president of the council from January 1st, 2006 until December 31st, 2021. At which time his final term commenced. It's with great pleasure that we recognize John's many faithful years of service in the city and extend our very best wishes for all of life's pursuits that lie ahead. So we appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgartner.
Yep.
Anything further, Mr. Mayor?
Nope, I will pass that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one quick thing tonight. I appreciate being able to work with you and thank you for all the knowledge over the last couple of years and helping me transition to this new position, and you'll be missed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask you a
Appreciate that.
Vector's down there on Main Street again. Are they going to the other side now?
Yes, they're dual maining it.
So they're putting one over in the grassy area, not in the street?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything further for the Safety Service Director? Well, Director, Mr. Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just one thing, thank Ms. Baumgartner for showing up. We now got enough votes to pass legislation, which is important because as of Monday, we were to reach our final agreement with our last union. So we've got contracts in place if you approve the contract tonight for the next 3 years. And to make that happen, we want to thank all our employees for working with us. We were able to do that without going to arbitration or fact finding, which is a whole process in and of itself. And we always say the best deals are struck when we're able to do it together at a table. And I think it helps our relationships with our employees to know that we care about them. And in the perfect world, we give them everything. But unfortunately, you guys know it best in terms of dealing with the financials. There's only so much we can do. So we are appreciative of them. And then last, but most importantly, thank you again, Mr. Burkett. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last 2 years. You will be missed, and congratulations going forward. And hopefully you got some more time for some reenactments.
Well, thank you. City Auditor, Mrs. Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I too want to, you will be missed, and there's a lot of knowledge and experience going to be walking out the door when you leave us. And it's gonna be hard to fill your shoes. But I do hope that you enjoy retirement. That will be the nice part of everything. So
I don't know if it's gonna be retirement or not.
well, whatever, a little bit more relaxation, a little bit.
It won't be every Tuesday night now. I'm taking it. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
And with that, I pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Kind words. Nothing scheduled under committee reports this evening, and we have 4 or 5 ordinances and resolutions to consider. Mr. Baumgartner, we added number 5.
Yep.
Did you get that? Okay.
Thank you.
So first is a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director in a contract with Choice One for water model and transmission main design.
Resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Choice One Engineering for a water model and transmission main design. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Choice One Engineering for the rendering of professional civil engineering services to develop a water model for the city to design a transmission.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this resolution and read it by title only, second and third time.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules and read the resolution by title, second and third time. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Choice One Engineering for a water model and transmission main design. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Choice One Engineering for a water model and transmission main design.
Move to adopt the resolution. Motion from Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. And next, we have a resolution authorizing safety director to enter into a grant agreement for water and wastewater infrastructure.
A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program. This resolution authorizes the safety service director to enter into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution second, third reading by title only. Motion by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program. A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into a grant agreement for a water and wastewater infrastructure program.
Move to adopt.
Motion, Mr. Whitaker, to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. And next, we have another resolution authorizing the reimbursement to Rob Root for water billing charges.
A resolution authorizing reimbursement to Rob Root for water billing charges. This resolution authorizes the reimbursement of $41.44 to Rob Root for the additional costs he incurred due to the city.
Suspend the rules and give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules and read the resolution by title second, and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing reimbursement to Rob Root for water billing charges. A resolution authorizing reimbursement to Rob Root for water billing charges.
Move to adopt the resolution. Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt, adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. Next, we have transfer ordinance.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. This transfer ordinance allows for a transfer in the street construction, maintenance, and repair fund in the sum as follows. $5,000 from light and sign maintenance, traffic control to traffic control new lights, signs. This transfer is needed to replace a defective traffic light. $9,000 from PERS, workers' comp, city FICA, police to police salaries, regular police. $2,000 from PERS, workers' comp, city FICA, police to dispatcher salaries. $3,600 from PERS, workers' comp, city FICA, fire department to superintendent, department head salaries. $800 from PERS, workers' comp, city FICA, admin expenses to salary, safety service director partial. $300 from PERS, workers' comp, city FICA, admin expenses to salary, safety service director.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Excuse me, motion by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, read the resolution by title second, or excuse me, ordinance by title second and third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville. An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the city of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely. Yes. Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. And finally, we have item 5, an ordinance ratifying the contract agreement with the water wastewater providers.
An ordinance ratifying the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the city of Greenville, Ohio and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 20, on behalf of the city's operating engineers and declaring an emergency. This ordinance ratifies the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the city and the International Union Operating Engineers on behalf of the city's operating engineers. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules and give this ordinance a second and third reading by title only.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, read the ordinance title second and third time. Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
An ordinance ratifying the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the city of Greenville, Ohio and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 20, on behalf of the city's operating engineers and declaring an emergency. An ordinance ratifying the collective bargaining agreement negotiated between the city of Greenville, Ohio and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 20, on behalf of the city's operating engineers and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause. Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Baumgartner to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. Now, we have I'm going to take this under ordinances and resolutions. It didn't get placed under old business. We have a table motion on the table at the present time. Council has two options, either to lift it to the table for further consideration or discussion, or to leave it lay on the table, at which time, if it lays on the table and the meeting is adjourned, it is so I just am laying it out for your consideration at this time.
I move we lift it from the table.
Motion by Mr. Baumgartner to lift the, it is a, well, help me, Mr. Law Director.
Yes, sir. It's the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding ordinance, regarding changes to the zoning regulations for medical marijuana dispensaries.
Okay. Changes for zoning regulation regarding those issues. Do we have a motion? Discussion on the motion to lift from the table? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. The item is now lifted from the table. And further discussion or consideration.
Where do we go?
Well, I'll defer to the law director. He's worked pretty hard on this thing.
They're trying to figure it out. So under the planning and zoning regulations, section 5.06, once you get a recommendation from planning and zoning, you can accept the recommendation and pass it as an ordinance. The ordinance would be drawn up. To do that, it takes 50% to approve the recommendation. If you want to go, so you use my words, so we spent the last 2 weeks making sure we had this right. If you want to go against the recommendation, but still institute something, it takes 3/4. Anything that falls in the middle, it's my opinion that it would just end it and the status quo would be maintained. Clear as mud? Clear as mud? All right. So you can accept their recommendation. 50% of you agree to accept the recommendation comes into place, the ordinance would be drafted per their recommendation. If you don't want to accept their recommendation, you can do that, it would take more than 50%. If you wanted to enact something different than what they recommended, but still enact something, that's what would take 75%, in my opinion.
And that's 6 votes.
That's correct.
Okay.
The constituents that I've talked to think that we don't need that in our area.
That's a consensus I've run across as well.
I ran across both. I mean, we've got some elderly people that are going to dispensaries outside the county, would like to see it. But yeah, it's both ways.
But I'm going to ask again the law director defining that, and if you haven't read the ordinance, it very clearly states where and where not these places can go. At presently, we have nothing on the books.
That's correct. Right now, we have nothing. Previously, we passed a resolution essentially stating that we didn't believe that it fits within the zoning regulations, but we sought clarity. It went to planning and zoning. They spent 4 months looking over what they wanted to do with it, and they've limited it based upon what they've recommended to you, which was passed unanimously by planning and zoning. They've limited it to the general business district, and the state of Ohio already has generic regulations if there's nothing in place. So they limited it first and foremost to the general business district in the city of Greenville. And then they took kind of the state of Ohio requirements and doubled them in terms of distance from schools, daycares, churches, that kind of thing. And then they added additional regulations in regards to signage and the way that the building has to be upkept, and it's got to get approval so that there couldn't be any depictions on the front of the building showing marijuana leaves or anything like that. It's essentially built to be very restrictive. So they had the same discussions that you all are having right now. And after their months of discussions, what they came up with in their mind was what they thought was the compromise, which was to allow it in a highly restricted manner. And that's what, when you read the ordinance, the zoning regulations as presented to you, that's the way that it was drafted.
One thing, when there's a liquor license transfer, we always get a recommendation from police department. Do we have a recommendation from our police department or law enforcement?
In terms of allowing or not allowing, so they
Yes.
still have to follow the process that would be the licensing through the state of Ohio and through the medical board. So that's kind of the first check that you'd have. And then the other part of that, while sitting on the planning and zoning committee as a member of the community, there is a police officer on the planning and zoning committee that had the input into it as well.
And it was unanimously from planning zoning to pass this.
That's correct.
So even if we sit there and pass this zoning ordinance tonight, or get the recommendation to draft up the ordinance, that somebody could still come to town and meet all the demands that the city has, not putting anything on the building, doing in the general district, they could still do it, right?
If we don't do anything,
No, if we pass this ordinance or pass the thing for the zoning recommendations.
correct. And if you pass this ordinance, then we're clarifying that under certain conditions, if you meet the certain conditions, you could open up a facility.
Yeah, they just can't do it here down here on Broadway or.
So the downtown district was all eliminated from that. And so if you look at a zoning map, the general business district essentially is Wagner Avenue, Schweitzer Avenue, and there's some parts of Martin Street coming into town. But there's really not a ton of general business, if you will. It's kind of those two main corridors, especially once you start to exclude proximity of the areas that aren't allowed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to accept the planning and zoning's recommendations.
Okay, motion by Mr. Baumgartner to accept the zoning and planning's recommendation. Now, that's open for further discussion. Anyone? Okay, call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Winiker,
No.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
No. Okay, motion fails 5.
Passes 4-2.
Pardon?
It passes 4-2.
Well, yeah, the motion to accept
Correct.
passes 4-2. Yes, to take a simple majority.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on. Nothing under new business and old business. A council representative to the outside committee, the Community Action Partnership. I
That was
believe
you.
that's Mrs. Ely.
It is.
Okay, I had a conversation with the director, Julie Lecklider. I asked her what had been going on during, the COVID, and she said they were, they're still kind of limited in what they're doing, but they still have current outreach programs for HEAP, rent relief, COVID relief, metropolitan housing. One thing that she noted is the food bank. They have that once a month for local citizens who qualify. And they are currently offering a box of food for senior citizens 60 years of age and older. And they're also maintaining a homeless shelter. And she said they are looking to add to their board membership. And I know I presently serve on that. And I told her, I said, well, it would be at the discretion of the new president of the council as to who gets appointed to that board. So, and with that, I'm done.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. Before we get to communications, I do have a need to excuse the absences for the month of December. So, motion for Mr. Rogers to excuse the absences for the month of December. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes,
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes. And what communications do we have?
We received the monthly reports of November from the Income Tax Department, Fire Department, and Transit Department.
Okay, and those are all on file. Okay. Thank you. Well, if there's nothing further, call down the council.
Schmidt,
Well, first, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and safe holidays. I'm gonna miss you, buddy.
Well,
Thank you for everything. Helped me out when I first came up here, get my feet wet, probably 20 years ago or whatever it's been now, but
probably, I don't know how long ago that was.
we appreciate everything you've done, the way you handled yourself and run these meetings, and we're sure gonna miss you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will pass.
Whitaker,
Yeah, I want to congratulate John for his 32 years of service to the city. And it's been my pleasure to work with you the last 4 years, relatively newcomer. And he's served the city well, he's a teacher as well, and worked with the school district, and, I wasn't around then, and I'm sure if I was one of the students, he probably would have gathered me in class. Just a joke.
This is you.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. We had a very monumental manufacturing feat this week occur at Whirlpool KitchenAid plant. It turned out their 3 millionth mixer.
Wow.
And as an employee there, I promised our plant leader, Renato Estevez, that I would mention it because it is quite an achievement, particularly as he points out that considering this is one of the more critical periods in the recent history of manufacturing with COVID and the lack of a workforce and so forth, everyone came together, met the challenge, and turned out the mixers. I will say that they spent a lot of money in expediting parts from all over the world, particularly China. Our parts come from China, our motors, and so they got it done. I mean, they set the goal of 3 million and reached it. And to them, that was a well of a challenge met. So that I've been working there for 8 years, and I'm pretty proud of that too, and doing inventory there, making sure that their parts are in the right place at the right time. So that was a great thing. So I wanted to mention that, and anything else I can't remember, so I'm going to pass.
Baumgartner,
Well, Mr. Burkett, I have some really big shoes to fill. Just a couple questions. So one, the Sunday brunch at the Elks, you always sit with Al Hallberg.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to sit at that table and pick both of your brains?
Well, maybe after the second or third time.
Certainly. But just what a pillar in the community. I mean, you're involved in so many things and just a legend in my eyes and in this community's eyes. So just wanted to thank you for everything that you've done, just not here, but outside the community, you know, from the Masonic Lodge stuff to, you know, all the things that I see you do. So just, I'm sure that you're going to look at your caller ID and see me calling once in a while. So thank you.
If you buy lunch, I'll have lunch with you.
Okay. With that, I pass.
Ely,
Well, as one of Mr. Burkett's former students, I want to say thank you for being an educator first. I survived biology, yay. And the only thing I didn't like was the dissection of the frog. I don't know that I did so well on that, but that's water under the bridge too. But as one of the newer members of council, I want to thank you for the meeting that we had, and you kind of took me through, I have a big notebook that I keep adding stuff to. So I want to thank you for your guidance and getting me started on the right foot. And I wish you well wherever you go and whatever you do next. And I give you my condolence, Mrs. Burkett, because now you'll have to find something to fill our time. So you know, travel, maybe. So with that, I say thank you again and I pass.
Godwin,
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you, Mr. Burkett, for showing us what we needed to do up here every meeting. And for the 32 years of being an elected official for the city of Greenville, that's a lot of years. And I want to say thank you. And thanks to everybody that showed up tonight, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And with that, I'll pass.
Rogers,
First of all, Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year. And I'm glad you're here tonight to watch this occasion, as we have a person that's going to partially retire, I guess. And to you, John, in 2006, whenever you decided to come on to president of council, that gave me the opportunity to come on to council. And I thank you for that opportunity. And have a great day and the days to come and whatever you do in the future.
Thank you.
With that, I pass.
President Burkett,
My turn. Where do I start? Well, first of all, this time would not have been successful. And I guess you can call it semi-successful. Had it not been for my predecessor, Mr. Hallberg, because he gave me a lot of good pointers and I learned a lot from him. And most especially to all the administrations that I've gone through in 32 years, and mayors and everything else, and employees. And then you people in Greenville, I hope you fully understand what a city, I'm going to call them a city crew, we have. Every member of personnel that we have in the city has a tremendous liking for the city, and they do an outstanding job. And previous ones have too. I mean, that's what makes Greenville a great place. And I can't thank them enough, because they're quality people and they do good work and they keep the city going for you. And I'm happy to have been a small part of that. To all of our employees, I don't like to call them employees, I don't know what you call them, associates, but all of the people who do things for the city, I wish them all, the families, all the very best, and a happy Merry Christmas and a happy New Year. I guess I'm going to miss it a little bit, maybe. Tuesday nights are kind of busy anymore, but that's okay. Mayor, thank you, Mr. Delk and Mrs. Wilman and Mr. Reeman. all of you on council. There's a young lady here to my right that deserves a special thanks. When she came on as the clerk of council, she didn't talk very loud. Talk up, Jessica. And now she's gotten to the point where she can rattle those ordinances and resolutions off just bingo. My kudos to Jessica. You've come a long way, young lady, and I do appreciate that. And I hope that the council appreciates the work she's done. And it's not an easy task because she writes all this stuff out and then types it all up, and I have to sign it saying that it's okay. But I appreciate her efforts as well. I don't know what else to say. I have members of my family here, brother and sister-in-law, and my son and his friend, and my son and his wife, and my dear Lady Karen, as I call her. And that means a lot. It's just, and all of you that are here, you probably didn't come to see me. I have to tell you a funny story. My very first council meeting as council president, and what year did they say that one? 06. 06. There was some controversy going on in the city with the safety service director and signage and all this kind of stuff. And there was a zoning and planning meeting, emergency meeting prior to that first meeting in January. And as I approached the city building, there were cars everywhere. And it's like, what's going on? I didn't have a clue of what was happening. I come up the stairs, and out in the hallway is Steve Baker and Channel 7 news camera. And it's like, now, wait a minute. Me becoming council president, isn't that newsworthy? He was here for the controversy that was being stirred up. And of course, there was cheering and jeering when everyone spoke and blah, 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 blah. And they finally ended that, and a lot of people stayed. And of course, when it comes to public comments, that was it. And I kind of set the precedent. And I have a lot of faith in this little instrument right here. You know, because I think it maintains order. And somebody started to applaud and cheer when somebody spoke. And I kind of put that to bed in a hurry. And we had some other issues. And when it was all said and done, the final vote was taken. I asked people, please, let's not have any cheering or jeering because somebody is glad or sad about whatever piece of legislation passed. I said, nobody wins, but it's democracy, and the one side will prevail, and it wasn't a tie. And people honored that, and I appreciated that simply because that's the way it should be. We don't need to be yelling and screaming and pointing fingers at each other and not listening to what the other person says. So I appreciate when people come to council that they do that and do it in a sane manner. You have your right to your opinion, that's good. But please be respectful of everyone else. So I thank you all for the good wishes. It's really been, at times it's been a chore, but way back a few years ago, I was going through some medical issues with a cancer thing, and that was a chore getting to council sometimes, but it worked. And I do appreciate everyone's efforts, and so thank you all very much. You've been a blessing to me and to my family as well, because it's been a good time. So with that, motion to adjourn, call the roll. That's non-debatable.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Baumgartner,
Yes.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes, for the last time. Good night. Good night, this is Calabash, wherever you are.
Yeah, no problem.
I couldn't let you not.
Hey, I'll be up in.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
And then I'll be up. Thank you. It's been one of them days.
I guess the other week.
Just a. I'll see you.
You're welcome. Winner. Oh.